Alright folks, we are back here on Shakura's Plateau, a PvZ this time. Return of the Zerg, my archenemy. Oh man, I'm ready for revenge here. I saw the Zerg in the loading screen and I'm like, oh man, it's the same race, same map as before. I really hope I don't do something miraculously retarded this time. Like, oh, I don't know, throwing away units, not building extra gateways, stuff like that. That's really silly, kind of StarCraft 101. So, going into this, decided I'm going to try to build upon what I kind of felt more comfortable with in the previous Zerg versus Protoss, which was that 1, 2, 3 gate fast expand. Depending on what I found from my opponent, you know, if I saw that he was going to try to do a fast expand himself, maybe I might decide to go ahead and try to punish it. But just I decided, as a general rule going into this, go for that early expansion and try to refine what I practice in the first game. So everything is looking good so far. Got my probe heading out. One thing that was kind of weird right off the bat, I watched this replay immediately after the game. I'm like, why is this drone scouting over there? I don't think he actually knows that this map you can't spawn over here. Which I will say, in his defense, at one point I didn't either. Right when it first came out. So. Whatever. Chalk that up for you know, everybody gets one. That's what I figure. Everybody gets one blunder in in this type of league play. So we do have myself continuing to use those chrono boosts on the Nexus, get my economy going there, and now I've got my probe over here. I realize, okay, well, you know, obviously if the drone is going to be scouting over there, I know he's sure as heck not going to be here. Well, guess what? Spoiler alert, he's right here. Zappy throwing down his spawning pool. You see he's going for that conservative opener that we see quite a bit these days. Going gas first, spawning pool second, get that metabolic boost upgrade, and get some Zerglings out for early control of the natural expansion. Take out a possible pylon or probe blocking it, and then going in on ahead rather with your plan. Of course, I do spot the Overlord over here. Not a lot I can do about it at this point. This right here made me mad. I'm like, oh, you stupid Zerg, how could you do this to me? Ruining my plans here. So, I'm like, alright, well, whatever. I'll adapt. So, bring my probe out. When he takes the gas like that, you're kind of forced out of that heavy sentry play. You could go ahead and get some zealots, but I decide that I'm going to go ahead and get a second gateway, possibly a third or a fourth, just kind of feel it out over the next minute or so, see what happens. First priority is to get a zealot right here, get that warp gate technology chrono boosted out, and there we go with that. I'm going to see that zealot move over in just a second or two. And next line of thinking here, get rid of this freaking extractor. It is a no-no, and it is completely in the way of my epic plans for Shakura's domination. Couples Zerglings are going to be heading out across the map. Again, they're probably just looking to poke around for a little bit here. Now, by taking the gas, the Zerg had to know that he was going to force me into a more aggressive playstyle, going for something like possibly a 4-gate, or, you know, just anything, any variation thereof. He could also do 1, 2, or 3-gate, or a fast expand. But not having those sentries really kind of limits your ability to defend. And with this wide ramp right here, I just kind of prefer to stay up here for now and build up a stalker, get a sentry, you know, a couple ranged units, go overlord hunting in my base, and take out this extractor right here, which you can see is well on its way. I'm not quite supply blocked here, but I think I'm actually a little bit delayed. Yeah, there we go. There's that pylon going down. Zappy, since he took that extractor, I'll actually tell you right, I'll pause it for a second here. Since he took that extractor, my line of thinking was, okay, if he's taken that, he has to know that he's putting me in this position, so one of two things is going to be happening here. He's either going to be going super defensive mode with an expansion up here, dedicating a lot of resources to defense, or he's going to be going on some kind of one-base play. Because pretty much when you take a Protoss's gas, you're effectively forcing him into one of those two situations that I mentioned earlier with the aggression or the expansion. So I chose to go ahead and drop down the 4 gateways, which we see are going to finish up right here, right about the same time that warp gate technology is going to finish. Those banelings are on the way here in just a second or two. Yep, and the Zerglings are popping in as well. And of course, you could see it took my sweet time turning those into warp gates. I saw those banelings here. Actually, one quick thing I want to tell you. I saw those banelings coming in, and I made a split-second decision not to actually force field, because I knew that the zealot would be able to take several hits from those banelings, and if any got through, I can force field right here. That would have been in range of this sentry right here, which you see I do have highlighted or selected already in game. And I knew that I saw those Zerglings down there, and I knew that keeping those out was going to be a little bit more of a priority. If those banelings all exploded up here, then the next problem would be securing my point of entry. And of course, I do have a Zealot over here, but I decided to save the force field for this spot, and now you see this keeps the Zerglings over here and limits their ability to come and really do any serious damage. I decided to drop a few Stalkers. Figure they're going to be pretty decent, you know. It's either that or some Zealots, and since we've already seen a lot of Banelings running around, I mean, really, what are you going to do, right? I'm not going to throw a whole bunch of more Zealots at the Banelings and just hope for the best. But the problem was I did not really anticipate how heavy of a response here we would see from the Zerglings. So, reinforcements coming in, and you see they're actually getting taken out because I did kind of overextend myself, looking to make sure that I could secure the natural. I am able to warp in some Zealots here fairly quickly. And I want to point out one thing right here. This is the first instance where I have actually experienced the problem of lag playing on the Korean server. Right here, I actually, I do give the attack command to kill this Baneling, because I'm like, oh, hey, it's got 10 hit points. One shot from, you know, this little volley of, or one volley from the Stalkers. No big deal. You see I've got an attack command right there. And give it. Nothing happens. You see it just turns up a millisecond too late. One shot gets off. Not quite enough, though, and the Baneling explodes. So, you know, whatever. C'est la vie. Moving on ahead, I'm still thinking to myself, okay, he's dedicated a lot of resources to that play. It's likely, since he had those reinforcement Zerglings, he probably doesn't have an expansion, or if he does, it was just dropped recently. So maybe I can actually capitalize on that. Maybe I can go put some pressure on his turf, maybe with a proxy pylon or something like that. But get a few more Zealots first, and then head on out. You see I do have a few of them now. Pretty decent force, I think. And I drop down a pylon. My plan is to kind of wall off right here and make it so any more reinforcements that from the Zerg player do have to run the long way around, maybe connect that with my Nexus. But I decide actually first, while I'm here, saw a couple of Zerglings, I'm going to bring in a few more Zealots, and then possibly push out, seeing how it feels, and just kind of go not quite beelining it right over to the base, looking around, make sure there's not going to be anything on the way. Don't want anything actually trying to run by, and that's exactly why I've got those few Zealots warped in right here. I decided to delay the expansion in favor of some mobile defense here at my main bottom of the ramp, and for good reason. You see those Zerglings actually running in there. Right as soon as I saw that, I'm just thinking, like, thank God I built those Zealots. So you see, you're kind of trying to create a wall. Actually, not quite stable right there. He's trying to take out the pylon, which he could have tried to run through. And I don't think it really would have worked out. I do have a lot of my forces here. And I have these actually in the hold position because I'm thinking, okay, he's going to try to run around. Sure enough, he does run around, loses most of those Zerglings. The ones that got out have like 2 hit points and a bag of potatoes. Potato bag has holes in it, so they're going to be scurrying back to base, and that's going to be that. Zappy coming over, dropping a few spine crawlers, realizing that, you know what, man, this force that I've got out right now is actually pretty darn potent. He does have a few roaches. Yes, that's going to be a very good thing, making a couple Banelings as well. The combination be pretty well suited for a defense, but you see, he's actually not building a lot of drones right now. Pretty much exclusively sticking with his army units. There's a couple roaches coming out, taking some free shots from my Stalkers. I pop up there, I see the roaches. I decide to force field them and make them kind of run around. But then I spot, okay, so here's 3 spine crawlers getting ready to finish, and a queen, and not a lot of room for maneuverability for my Zealots. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to run up to the top of the ramp and have a party in the main. Yeah, all right, let's do that. I do actually lose 1 or 2 Zealots there to just miss micro, but I decide, go ahead, go up to the mineral line, take out a few drones. We can actually just kind of watch this as we proceed on here. Now, one thing I want to point out right here, something that I did is I let the roaches come up here. I saw them, and I'm like, okay, I can take that. That's no big deal. But I did not pay attention to this right here. Look at how many roaches we have coming. 7 roaches. If I was paying more attention to the roaches up here, the eggs, I probably would have kept that force field, placed it just a second or 2 earlier to keep all of those roaches back down and let me deal with these. Because you see right now my Zealots are in a pretty good position, but I don't pay attention to that, and now you're going to see that's okay. So we've got the one ballsy drone actually in here, and now the Zealots are kind of split up. We do have 1 or 2 units down here forced to deal with that, and the rest of them are actually up here trying to kill these roaches, which again I think I actually could have ended up in a little bit of a better position than I am now, but still not terrible. I mean, I do get a pretty decent amount of kills. You can see right there, I've definitely done more damage to him than he has done to me, and that is kind of what I was hoping for at this point. You see, I'm losing my last Stalker there in just a second or two, hoping to get a last kill, but not going to happen. I do come in with fresh reinforcements, though. I decide to take out these spine crawlers while his forces are up here. You see force fields go down once again, denying him the ability to defend with these roaches, taking them out of the equation, not wanting to make the same mistake as I did just a few seconds ago with trying to take on too much at one time. There goes my Stalker, taken down right there, and I decide to focus down this. You can see that, again, force fields staying up there. As the roach gets taken out, defense is not really able to come to the aid of the natural expansion, but I don't quite have enough to finish this off. I have a few extra zealots coming in here, but I realize I don't have a lot in the way of stalkers, which are really crucial in dealing with these roaches. The zealots are the great meat shields. The force fields set the battle, but you got to have those stalkers to actually deal the damage, because that's when it's going to come down to. So I decide to run back. I've got my own expansion going up here, and I see that he kind of really likes those spine crawlers. So, he did have 3 of them up there. Of course, he is building 2 again, and not really droning up right now. I do feel at this point like I've done a pretty good job putting pressure on him and making him feel relatively uneasy about the current state of the game. My goal was to really try to make him question whether it'd be a good idea to dedicate some time to just droning up, or if he should stick with these tier 1 roaches. You do see he does have a lair. He's had that for some time now, but he has not been able to get any upgrades. All of the gas he has gotten has been dedicated to roaches, and that's kind of been one of the reasons I've been pressing so hard, even though I realize I'm not really going to be able to seal the deal with these attacks. I know that I'm going to be able to do enough damage to keep him at bay with the income, with the gas, with the tech, and that's exactly what I'm going to continue to do. Now I pop up here, I see these 2 spine crawlers, and I'm thinking now, okay, he has really dedicated himself to these roaches, so this confirms my earlier line of thinking. He does not want to drone up unless he is absolutely sure that there is no way that he is going to be attacked. I can use this to my advantage by keeping pressure on, even though I'm losing a considerable amount of units in the process. You can see I've actually lost a lot right there. I'm still able to keep the Zerg relatively stagnant in terms of tech, economy, etc. We can actually just look at the income and see that for some time we've actually had it fairly skewed in my favor at 44 to 32. He does decide to try to come up here. I see that. I decide to warp in a few additional stalkers and pretty much just say, no, you're not going to get this. I want this expansion. I'm not going to let you have this. If you want it, you are going to have to fight for it big time. Because I knew that I knew that this expansion was a risk for him, because of the fact that he had so many roaches. I knew that he would not be able to really defend it with anything else other, it's just kind of a risk for him to take that. And I knew I could handle those roaches. Of course, I do have several proxy pylons going down there, continuing to warp in those stalkers. And now, you actually saw some time ago, I was trying to bring in a robotics facility, get some immortals. Those things just are great against stalkers. One thing I should have done was get the blink upgrade. That really, I think, could have helped seal the deal here a little bit earlier. But no, I don't actually get that, and I continue to kind of struggle trying to kill these roaches. I'm trying to focus them down. I'm moving back in groups because I want to make some room for this immortal. So you saw how I kind of moved this group up here first and made room for it. So now I have 1 immortal in the field, which you see 50 damage against armor. You see just chewing away. Already got 5 kills right now. There's the 6th, as this has actually become my priority for me to keep this immortal alive. I know that I'm going to have the ability to reinforce with the stalkers up here, because there's those 2 pylons in that position that I love oh so much right up here. And Zerg, once again, getting those spine crawlers, another 300 minerals down the drain. He's forced again to go roach because of the continuous pressure. He's not being allowed to drone up here, which is something he desperately needs to do moving forward in this game. I mean, as time goes on, I'm getting more and more of an advantage, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do here, is just to wait him out, keep on teching, and that's it. So we spot that, again, one problem here. This is actually because I was just so focused on keeping the pressure on here, I really didn't think too much about it. I should have at least 2 or 3 upgrades right now, possibly 4, at this point in the game. A couple weapons, a couple armor, but I'm so focused on trying to just push this guy and end it and whittle him down that I don't really think about that so much. Just too worried about getting the Immortals out, etc. So now you see I'm able to take out the Spine Crawlers once again, and still sticking with the same tactic as before, trying to deny him that feeling of security, that sense that he's going to be safe droning up there, and force him to continue to dedicate those larvae to roaches, which you see, still being successful. He hasn't even actually had a chance to spread creep around here, which you see he's got a queen with plenty of energy left. He does manage to sneak another expansion in over here, which I do not actually see, but the fact that I have 2 Immortals now means that I am just going to be in a fantastic position to push. There's my meat shields coming in here from the Immortals. Kind of shifted from Stalker Zealot to Stalker Immortal here, and actually one of them is starting to go down, but I see that he's still focusing on the Stalkers because they go down a little bit easier at this point for him, considering the amount that he has. Finally, he switches to Zerglings way late into the game here. But, you know, of course, if he had switched earlier, I would have gone something else. I would have switched over to more Zealots, got the charge upgrade, called it good, but we see that he's stuck with that, and so now I'm able to take out the expansion. We look at the income now, 57 to 27. You see I'm actually long distance mining here because I've got this Nexus on the way. And yes, the expansion goes down. He loses all of that income, and now we're pretty much stuck with a Zerg who's on 1 base, Roach. Not a good position. You can see he does have that that Glill Reconstitution upgrade. There's the GG from Zappy. So I'm finally able to take a game here against a freaking Zerg player on Shakuras Plateau. I realize that, I mean, obviously, you know, both of us had several things we can improve, but that was actually, you know, a lot of back and forth there, just with the initial Baneling attack, making that snap decision about where to put the force field, and just continuing on, you know, all in the name of practice. So, like I said before, it's one thing to watch the replays and understand the mechanics. It's another thing to execute them properly in sequential order and react to everything, you know, all at the same time. So that's what this practice is all about. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. That's the most important thing. Like I said, these games aren't for high entertainment value necessarily. They're meant primarily to help players learn from my mistakes. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm out. Welcome, welcome everybody. We have the 5th edition of Scared in Korea, the web series where I show me getting my butt kicked and learning from it while playing StarCraft 2 on the South Korean server. I am spawning up in the top right position. My opponent, whose name I cannot pronounce, is the Red Terran, spawning down in the bottom left. And actually, completely random story. When I was loading this game, he did choose Terran, by the way. Random note, but I saw his name and I imagined, looking from left to right, you've got this guy who's like super excited, yeah, and then the subsequent 3 characters here look like him trying to push against a wall, and I don't know why, but that just made me laugh really hard. So going into this, I was quite cheerful. Of course, this was actually a game that I played immediately after the last episode of Scared in Korea. I got up for about 10 minutes or so, cooled off. I wasn't like raging or anything. I was really just mad at myself for making stupid mistakes and giving that Zerg essentially the free win there at the end. But, you know what, man? You cannot learn to ride a bicycle if you go try to eat cake all day, because then you'll get fat and you can't ride a bicycle. Just get back on that bike, keep going, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. So, going into this game, I'm thinking, okay, Terran, 3-gate Robo, pretty solid. I've had a lot of luck with that so far, actually. Most of the Terrans I've seen prefer to do a kind of 1-base play, where they will just go Marine Marauder, a couple Medivacs, maybe a Viking if they scout out my robotics facility. And it's 3-gate Robo works actually really well against it, especially if you can get a favorable attack position, get those force fields down, and call it good. So that's my plan going into the game. Of course, I do keep in my head to adjust it as necessary. One mistake that I did make, actually, I should have scouted with the first pylon probe. I scouted way too late. Of course, this guy's already got a scouting advantage on me here. And I believe, yeah, I'm going to head over here and then down here, scout that out. Terran player looks like he's opening up with a pretty standard opener. Nothing too weird, nothing too revealing about it so far. He's got the Marine, the 2 depots, there's the Orbital Command coming on the way, and the Refinery. So, at this point, that can pretty much go anyway, except like a 2 racks fast expand, or 1 racks or something like that, which, you see, not the case, so I'm not too worried about it right now. Cybernetic score going down, continuing on my way to the 3-gate play here, and been still using kind of my Chrono Boost on my Nexus, get that up as get my economy going as quickly as possible. Don't want that energy sitting around until my cybernetic score is complete. then I think I want to start dumping it into Gateway. Of course, here, the reason I haven't got Gateway Warp Gate technology yet is because I'm trying to get a Stalker. I want this SCV out of my base, and of course he is going to be harassing my probe here for the next moment or so, trying to kill it. Looking down here, we do have the Terran player dropping a second barracks. Everything is looking all swell. No upgrades on the way for him, though. You see his gas sitting around 143. Wonder what exactly he has planned right now. APM, you can see it's pretty low for me. Again, I don't really spam APM in the beginning of the game. You'll notice kind of it'll end up being about 95, maybe 100 or so by the end of the game, depending on how long it goes. Of course, if it goes past 30 minutes, it usually tips above 100. But there's a second tap going down, third barracks on the way, so very likely that we're going to see some kind of heavy Marauder base push here. And of course, the Protoss, or myself rather, did manage to kill off that SCV, and everything's looking good. So, alright, Stalker's coming out. Things are going according to plan here. Probably should start working on Zealots here in just a second. The reason you're going to see me build actually a couple extra Stalkers here. I don't normally do this in my 3-gate robot because it kind of delays my ability to get that robotics bay later on. And of course the money going to those additional Stalkers as well. Still not a good thing. But I saw that tech lab and I was a little worried about Reapers. Maybe 2 or 3 of them. I wasn't entirely sure. Kind of a throw-up when you go down there and you see that tech lab. You know he's going to have it because you're playing as a Protoss against a Terran, but still, it's always kind of in the back of your mind, like, man, is he really going to do that? I don't know. If this were like a Pro League, it would probably be less likely to actually see that happen. Maybe 1 or so, since it's kind of a big map. But since this is actually, I think this guy was Platinum. This guy was Platinum on the Korean server, so of course, I didn't know that at the time. But I kind of figured Reapers are a little bit likely, more likely than, say, in a pro game. Anyways, on to the next thought here. Stalkers, finally good to go. Starting to switch over. Of course, I do need to turn those into Warp Gauge, which I now do. Robotics facility is complete. There's the scan, so I do try to build that robotics bay out of vision. Let's see, am I actually successful? I think I am. Yes, indeed. So he sees the 3 Warp Gates. He sees the robotics facility. He might be thinking there's going to be a window of attack here soonish. I don't know. He does have 2 ghosts already. So that is a good chunk of money and gas already gone towards that attack. We see him moving out. Now, he's going to be banking on likely a combination of EMP, maybe some sniping left over. But he is moving out with very few units indeed, maybe trying to hit that window before I'm actually able to get out an Immortal or Colossi. Of course, both of them good against infantry, depending on the armor type. Of course, they're good against their respective counter units, whatever you want to call them. But anyways, you see, not a lot in the way of Marines. We got a 2, so mostly geared towards taking out those armored units like Colossi, Stalkers. You could spot that actually he did see I had quite a few Stalkers there. Of course, my first Colossus is currently being chrono boosted. I do have a couple sentries that I warped in, even though I thought maybe it could delay the Colossus a little bit. I was a little worried that that I might need to hold off an attack. So here we go, actually. Force field goes down. I do plan to catch a couple units each time. He does try to come up here a few times, actually. And so there's one Marauder, one Marauder and 1 Marine taken out right off the bat. You see he doesn't really have a whole lot down here, but he's really relying on those EMPs. Of course, down you see he's supply blocked again. Definitely not a good thing for him. He actually has a few extra units queued up there in those barracks. So here he goes, trying to do another attack. Again, Marauder taken out, denying vision of the high ground before he's really able to do anything. You got to watch out when you're doing force fields like this. You don't want to send all your units right here, because when they start going down, the Terran's going to see that, and they're going to be like, oh, hey, cool, EMP there, I know I'll hit him. So you see 1 EMP lands right there. I decided to let in the rest of them. You saw how my force field was a little bit delayed, and that was actually a conscious decision because I had the Observer right here, and I kind of knew that his army wasn't that big, so I felt comfortable letting those 2 ghosts in, knowing that that would be a very big hit for him in the economic battle. Losing those 2 ghosts that were made so early in the game, man, that has got to be devastating. So now I'm feeling pretty confident. I've got the shields back. I'm deciding to go ahead and move out. I want to check, okay, so the Terran player had a very small army. He had ghosts. He had teched up to that really quick. So I wonder if he has some kind of an expansion or if he's dedicated the money to tech. Or if he's just got EMP with or EMP with a bunch of Marines and Marauders, okay, we'll deal with that as the time comes. I got some energy on those sentries. And now I decided, okay, let's proc and prod. Let's see if we can actually evoke a response. See what kind of army we have here. There's the stim. You see that he does not have medevacs yet, so that worked in my favor. Big time medevacs, obviously not coming right now, but I don't know that yet. There's just one Viking. So the Viking is going to come over here, try to pick off the Colossus, which you see I do not have the range upgrade. I am working on expanding, but there's a force field I think is a really good one there. It keeps the Terran player from running back up the ramp, denying that mobility, rather, that he oh so cherishes. And I'm trying to attack that Viking. A little bit of a goof up on the AI. I'm trying to attack the Viking, and then it decides to go after the Marauder. So I have to kind of focus it down, and it gave him the time he needed to actually retreat back. Excuse me. So, taking out the tech lab, figure that's a good first step here. Make sure I can limit his Marauder production. I see those SCVs. I fall back to the ramp knowing that he would not be able to get a good surround. I'm not sure what he has planned, because usually you won't send those SCVs unless you have something to go along with it. SCV is going and attacking just by themselves, sheer sign of desperation, but it becomes a lot more powerful if you send in those SCVs with a couple Marauders behind it, and really having the Stalkers and Colossi have all their fire focused on the non-offensive units, so to speak. So there's no GG this game. Perfectly fine. He did leave the game, and I was able to claim a victory here on, what is the map? Delta Quadrant. Delta Quadrant. I had a brain fart for a second there. But I actually have another game for this video. I won't spoil it. We'll just go on and watch it.